Another day, another alarming COVID-19 report in the Commonwealth. Today's new cases and the governor's worry ahead of Thanksgiving. Houses of worship making the call on whether to continue in-person services or switch to all virtual. We hear from religious leaders from Central Kentucky about why they made the switch. And the holiday season will be tough as health officials advise against large gatherings and traveling. How health officials say you can keep your loved ones safe.
This is Wkyt News at 6.
Good evening to you. Another warning from state leaders tonight about escalating coronavirus cases and waning hospital capacities. This as the governor announced 2,194 new cases today, and that's the highest number of new cases on a Sunday when fewer labs report. 4 new deaths announced today as well, and that pushes the state's death toll to 1,787. The positivity rate is sitting at 9.19%. More than 1,500 Kentuckians are in the hospital right now, 389 in the ICU, and this now ends Kentucky's highest week ever for new COVID-19 cases. Governor Beshear saying today hospitals won't have the capacity to deal with a major surge of cases after Thanksgiving. And that's why the governor has put in place a number of new mandates and other restrictions. Part of that, today was the first Sunday of 4 weeks that Governor Andy Beshear is asking houses of worship not to meet in person. WKYT's Grace Feinerman spoke to religious leaders to see how they're responding to those new recommendations. That's our top story at 6.
Live with the times. That the entire idea of what my responsibility is in my community is to adapt to what's needed.
According to Governor Beshear, one thing needed to curb the spread of COVID-19, faith leaders closing their doors for now. The governor suggests all houses of worship stop in-person services until December 13th.
Judaism puts a tremendous premium on human life. It says in the Talmud, if you save one person, you save the entire world.
Rabbi Shlomo Litvin with Chabad of the Bluegrass says all classes and prayer sessions have gone virtual. Plus, Shabbat dinners, meals of prayer Friday nights have been put into to-go boxes. Rabbi Litvin says central prayers on Jewish Sabbath don't use electricity, so the idea of switching to Zoom added an extra challenge. Still, he says going virtual has allowed for more people to get involved.
Being a church that wants to be a good neighbor in the community, we're going to abide by the governor's recommendations.
Brian Carter, community pastor at Crossroads Lexington, says the church will have all virtual services for the time being. Still, he says the congregation is able to safely come together to help the Lexington community. Sunday was the annual Thanksgiving food drive. Over 3,500 meals were gathered for people in need of a turkey dinner.
Anything we can do to be that light in this dark time.
But not all houses of worship agree with the governor's mandate. Catholic churches in the Commonwealth will continue to meet, but with precautions. And some Baptist churches say they'll go virtual starting next Sunday. In Lexington, Grace Feinerman, WKYT.
The governor says if houses of worship do meet, it's safer to do so outside or get creative with drive-through services. Some, though, are choosing to continue in-person services inside. Southeast Christian Church in Louisville is one of them, one of the biggest churches in the state, and a lot of cars in the parking lot there this morning. The church leaders said on Facebook they're still following social distancing and other precautions, and they're still hosting virtual services as an option. Well, it's been another dreary and wet day across the state as a cold front moves through. A few showers are sticking around, but now we're watching colder temperatures move in as well. WKYT meteorologist Adam Berniston has the latest, and Adam, we'll at least be glad to see the sun again.
Yes, we have been waiting to see that sun now for a few days. Today, another bit of dreary, rainy, just chilly day here across the state. It kind of still has that dreary look here in Lexington, but that rain is now starting to taper off, maybe a light mist out there now. Temperatures already cooling down quickly as well. We're into the mid to upper 40s here in central Kentucky, upper 50s to our south and east, and even lower 60s there in far southeastern Kentucky. So you see where that front is pushing through and where that cold air is pushing in. So you see First Alert Radar Network still showing some of those showers moving across the region. As I said, here in parts of the Bluegrass, fairly dry, maybe a few misting showers here and there. But as you travel travel out east down I-64 down the Mountain Parkway, you're still seeing some pockets of heavier rain out there, and the same thing goes further south into parts of Laurel County, southeast Pulaski County, getting in on some heavy batches of rain there as well. So this front going to be continuing to push off to the south and east. As it does so, as I mentioned, we're already feeling the cooler air, but we could even see the potential for frost coming in for the beginning of the work week. So I'll have that full forecast and look at the Thanksgiving Day forecast coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right, Adam, thank you. Across the country, folks are flooding testing sites right now, hoping they can attend Thanksgiving safely with their family. In some places, folks are waiting hours in line for tests. One epidemiologist says this is all being done with good intentions, but people shouldn't let their guard down even if they do test negative.
Testing is important to try to figure out how many people in that community have the illness, but a negative test isn't a guarantee that you can do whatever you want. To get tested just so you can visit your family uses up resources for people who do have symptoms.
Dr. Segretti says you could take the test today and then get the virus tomorrow and become infectious by Thursday. And he says you can even test negative in the morning and become infectious later on, all in the same day. And everyone wants to see grandma or grandpa or their parents, but health leaders say right now just is not the best time to visit elderly family members. WKYT's Olivia Russell shares some guidance about visiting loved ones during the holidays.
The holiday season is something that I think really revitalizes people. We look forward to it. We long for it.
This holiday season will be filled with difficult decisions for almost every family.
We are complicated by that need to be connected and that need for being close in proximity to our loved ones with COVID right now.
The coronavirus has proven to be deadly for older family members. More than 1,300 Kentuckians over the age of 70 have died from COVID-related complications. That's why Lindsay Camphor from Bluegrass Care Navigators says families will need to be creative this year to celebrate Thanksgiving from a distance.
You know, sending a quick text or a phone call might not be enough. So learning how to use platforms like Zoom or FaceTime, it's so important for people to not just have a voice, but to have a physical presence to feel connected.
Camphor is also offering guidance for family members who do need to visit loved ones because end of life may be nearing. She says anyone with symptoms of COVID-19 or the flu should not visit. In some cases, the visits will have to be limited to just a few people, and people should still continue following CDC guidelines like masks and sanitizing.
Welcoming one family at a time, sanitizing in between the visits. Ensuring folks are masked and social distancing when they do visit.
As we get closer to the holiday, Camphor says it's best to start preparing now because plans and hard decisions will take time. In Lexington, Olivia Russell, WKYT.
Camphor says people should also consider the health and safety of caregivers before planning visits to elderly loved ones. Another nursing home in the Commonwealth is dealing with a coronavirus outbreak. This one, the Mountain Manor in Johnson County. More than 40 residents, nearly 30 staff members are currently being treated there. 4 residents and 11 staff members have recovered. Johnson County, like nearly every other county in Kentucky, is in the red zone on the state's COVID-19 incidence rate map. One Eastern Kentucky official is urging folks in his county to stay safe for the holidays. The Floyd County Health Department has announced that 1,000 people there are in quarantine for the virus. The county has seen more than 500 cases so far just in November alone. Judge Executive Robbie Williams is worried about holiday gatherings, and so he's asking folks not to have visitors from out of state to help slow the spread.
We're getting ready to cross the finish line here, and I want to cross the finish line with a smile on our face. I want everyone safe and all of us to cross the finish line together.
As of Friday, 330 coronavirus cases there are considered active. Some gym owners are getting creative to adjust to new restrictions from Governor Beshear. That limits gym capacity to 33% and restricts group training. A Title Boxing Club in Louisville created a new open gym program. It gives gym goers the opportunity to continue to work out and train. The gym's owner says he's been doing everything he can to keep the environment safe.
We sanitize all of our bags down, we sanitize our floors, we wipe down high-touch surfaces, use that hospital-grade disinfectant on everything, so making sure if there's germs, we're killing them.
Some other gyms that primarily offer group classes have made the choice to go 100% virtual. Gym owners say many businesses may not make it through this pandemic and they need the community's support. Across the state, most restaurant owners are abiding by the new rules banning indoor dining. Still, that could shut down some businesses for good, and that's the case for our bar in Hebron. Owner Tony Jones worries about his employees and his customers. He says it's hurting people who come to small-town bars all over Kentucky. Jones shut the doors on Friday night, saying he doesn't know if they'll ever reopen.
They come here to celebrate their job, their new friendship, and they come here because sometimes things not good at their home. I would say I'm 90% probably going to close. I would hope it wouldn't happen.
One northern Kentucky restaurant, Beans Cafe, defied the governor's order by keeping the dining room open. A COVID-19 vaccine appears to be on the horizon as a powerful surge grips the nation. Next, the latest on how health experts are trying to tackle the virus.
And we are tracking those rain chances moving out and chilly air moving in. All the latest on that and your Thanksgiving Day forecast coming up in just a moment.
Since total U.S. coronavirus cases crossed the 12 million mark yesterday, Johns Hopkins University says at least 177,000 more have been added. The virus is spreading quickly around many parts of the nation, and there's concern ahead of this week's Thanksgiving gatherings. Now, vaccines do appear to be on the way, spurring guarded optimism that relief is in sight. CBS News correspondent Nancy Chin reports.
The nation's vaccine czar says 2 frontrunners now in late-stage testing could bring the coronavirus pandemic under control by the spring.
70% or so of the population being immunized would allow for true herd immunity to take place. That is likely to happen somewhere in the month of May.
Vaccines from Pfizer, which applied for emergency use authorization Friday, and Moderna are raising hopes with tests showing they're about 95% effective. But success depends on people getting the shot.
If you have a highly efficacious vaccine and only a relatively small 40-50% of the people get vaccinated, you're not going to get the herd immunity you need.
As almost every state battles a new COVID-19 wave, an estimated 50 million Americans plan to travel for Thanksgiving, defying the CDC's warning.
You can't assume that you don't have the virus, and you can't assume that the people whose home you're about to enter don't have the virus.
Deb Berger flew from Chicago to San Francisco to visit her daughter for the holiday.
We're going to be at her apartment, and it's just the 2 of us.
In northern and southern California, people were in the streets despite a 41-county overnight curfew that took effect Saturday night.
I think there's too many restrictions as is.
An illegal curfew, 10 o'clock curfew, we're not going to abide by it. It's ridiculous.
While in Texas, the National Guard deployed to the El Paso County morgue as the area experiences a spike in hospitalizations and deaths. Nancy Chen, CBS News.
The coronavirus has killed about 1.3 million people around the world, 250,000 of them here in the U.S.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with meteorologist Adam Burniston.
Well, we have a chilly and cold night ahead here in the Commonwealth as that cold front continues to push off to the south and east. Pretty easy to point it out there on the current temperature map as we are in the mid-40s, upper 40s here around the Bluegrass region. And then as you move off to the south and east, you have 50s turning into 60s. So quite the color palette there across the state. And that full front will continue to push off to the south and east. Right now, First Alert Radar Network not really showing much activity here in central Kentucky. A few leftover showers there to the east. Some misting may be possible there behind the front. That isn't going to necessarily show up on radar, but heavier rain traveling out east now through Round County, Morgan County as you travel down into Owsley, into Jackson, Laurel County, getting in on some heavy bits of rain from time to time. So that will continue to push through for the next hour or two into southeast Kentucky. And then behind it, much drier air and much clearer skies going to be entering the forecast. So those clear skies really going to control tomorrow's temperatures. For tonight, either way, we're going to be cooling down through the 40s and into the 30s, lower 30s by Monday morning. This model even showing some mid 30s out there. Fog possible, but overall mostly just a frost threat, especially in valley areas. We go through the afternoon, evening hours. Highs going to struggle to get into the upper 40s. That's if we get in on sunshine. If it stays cloudier tomorrow, you can bet these upper 40s will look more like the mid to lower 40s as highs, so a chilly day there. We'll keep those 30s around Monday night into Tuesday morning. Another cold morning there. A little bit of cloud cover here, but our winds start shifting out of the south. That'll help temperatures rise into the upper 40s, lower 50s, not far from our average this time of year, but we'll keep the dry weather going until we get into early Wednesday morning. Another system going to surge its way in here with more gusty showers on and off all day long there on Wednesday through Wednesday evening into Wednesday night, and then even into a little bit of early Thursday morning. I think we'll clear it out by Thanksgiving dinner. We'll also have gusty winds with that. You see 30, almost 40-mile-an-hour winds. 7-day forecast you see breaking down those temperatures after Monday. We stay into the mid-50s for the remainder of the week with another system coming in by next weekend as well.
I miss the sun.
Yeah, after these 2 days of just kind of chilly, dreary weather here in central Kentucky, it'll be nice to see it tomorrow.
It certainly will be. Adam, thank you. Well, coming up in sports, a brutal afternoon for the Bengals and their quarterback, Joe Burrow.
The #1 overall pick carted off the field, and after the game, he tweeted, "See you next year. We had the details ahead." Plus, we recap UK's embarrassing loss at #1 Alabama. AJ Rose and Josh Paschal sound off when we come back.
Tuesday night's Mega Millions jackpot is $200 million, and Wednesday night's Powerball jackpot is $202 million.
A nightmare scenario for the Cincinnati Bengals. In the third quarter, Joe Burrow was hit in the left leg, and after laying on the ground for several minutes in pain, he was carted off the field and later declared out. And some other injury news. Josh Allen, the second-year pro from Kentucky, ruled out of Sunday's game with a knee injury. He was in a lot of pain as he walked to that locker room with his trainers. And staying with that Jags-Steelers game, Benny Snell on the doorstep. His third rushing touchdown of the season, 17-3 Pittsburgh at the break. In the second half, another former Wildcat, Bud Dupree, one-handed sack. That dude's a monster. Pittsburgh wins big 27-3 to stay perfect at 10-0. In Houston, the Texans hosting the Patriots. Damian Harris, the pride of Madison Southern, rushed for 100+ last week. He scores his second career touchdown, and it's 7-0. The Texans answering right back. Monster day for Deshaun Watson. 3 touchdowns, nearly 400 total yards, and a strike to Randall Cobb. The ex-Wildcat would leave the game with a foot injury, but Houston wins it 27-20. UK suffered its worst loss since '96 Saturday, a 63-3 beatdown at Alabama. The Wildcats were outgained 509 to 179 and were held to less than 30 yards in the second half. Mark Stoops did not use this as an excuse, but they were missing 10 players due to both injuries and COVID-19.
You can't control who catches the disease or get traced. It would have been great to have our full team here and have the players that was missing here, but we only can control what we control, and that's to go out there next week, get a game plan, execute it, go out there and play to our best ability. I just feel like, this been a rough year as far as football, the COVID disease, and all around, but we're doing the best to make the most of it.
Of course, we're a little short-handed this week, but, that can happen this season with COVID. It's a different season than usual, so the next guy just has to step up, and, I'm proud of the guys who did step up, who were thrown in those situations and whatnot. But, we had to get better. This isn't acceptable. This isn't a part of our culture, and this is not who we are.
UK visits #6 Florida Saturday at noon. And finishing with this, Willie Cauley-Stein has agreed to a 2-year, $8.2 million deal to return to Dallas. He played in 13 games last season. That's it for sports. Have a great week.
I think today might have been even uglier than yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit, because you had not only just gloomy conditions, but we had that chilly rain out there as that passed through, and now even colder conditions coming in for tonight. We'll be dropping down into the 30s by Monday morning, and then those chilly temperatures continue. Monday afternoon, you see only 40s as your highs, but it does get better. Temperatures rebound later on this week before another system comes in midweek. That could bring just a touch of rain to early Thanksgiving, but should dry up for the rest of the day there.
A pretty fall-feeling week through the whole time.
Yeah, this is very average, so this is what we should expect this time of year.
All right, Adam, thank you. And thank you for joining us. We will see you tonight at 11 o'clock. And remember, the news is always on at WKYT.com. Have a good evening.